Gary Parrish. Welcome back to CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do to the like button. Shouts to Brandon Davies. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel. It would be just amazing if you could go ahead and knock that out. Let's get into it. We're going to start today with a report from Inside Carolina's Greg Barnes detailing how UNC has spent more than $14 million on its roster for next season. $14 million these days is what Dodgers catcher Will Smith costs, or UNC's roster for next season. Take your pick. Norlander, nice to see you on this Thursday morning. Can you tell me how $14 million measures up against other college basketball payrolls for next season?
Yeah, that's a big number. Not surprised. Where does it measure up? I think it's in the top 5, top 6 overall for sure. The number is obviously eye-popping, and we can get into the details of the players attached to that number, of course. I checked in with one source in advance of us doing this pod. I know we believe with this as the topic, and their opinion was this is definitely not the most. It's not number 2, might not be number 3 in all of spending in men's college basketball. I think the running assumption is that Kentucky is probably spending more on its roster than any other program this offseason. You've got the likes of BYU, Indiana, Texas Tech, North Carolina, and I could well be Duke. I think that group of 6, if you had me narrow it down to which schools are believed to be spending the most, which players will wind up, if we could gather all their earnings and go, flash forward 5 months into the future, I think that those 6 programs would be either the top 6 or among the 6 or 7 or 8 most that are receiving the most. And for Carolina, obviously it's a huge number. I had one source. The exact text was the football boosters are mad. They're so mad they're leaking the basketball numbers in regard to this story that came out. Very good reporting by Inside Carolina. That is an extremely reputable site and has been doing good work on all things Carolina for a long time there. So yes, the number is obviously eye-popping and big time, but Inside Carolina reports it. Would definitely believe that. I was told, I did the whole story on the $10 million NIL club, 6-7 weeks ago at this point. UNC was past the $10 million threshold at that point as is. But what are your thoughts on Hubert Davis and not just thoughts on the fact that he's been able to get, $14 million and just to be so our listeners and viewers understand, that number also bakes in the expected house case settlement, which still hasn't happened, by the way. But that is also what goes into this number. So money that is not yet there that will be a part of revenue sharing is also a factor in that $14 million number. But your thoughts on the story of getting out and how it helps or hurts Hubert Davis?
Well, it's I don't know that it helps or hurts in any sort of tangible way. I guess on one hand, you could say, once people know this is the amount of money that's been spent on your roster, there's a lot of pressure on you to deliver. But who has more pressure to deliver heading into next season than Hubert Davis? Relative to the size of the job that you possess. I mean, it's his alma mater. They clearly want this to work if it can work. But it's been bumpy, as we've detailed. This seems like something that I've talked about, or at least speculated about, over the past year many times. You've got a coach, it's not going well. Yeah, you can pay a big buyout and get him out of there and then go pay it many millions more to get a new coach and a new staff in place, and then go find many millions more to roster build so that your new coach has a shot. Or you can save all the buyout money, save all the new coach money, and just throw it at NIL and see if you can put your theoretical on the hot seat coach in a good position. I know it doesn't work exactly like that, but that's a simple, version of how these things can go down. And that appears on some level what they have done at North Carolina. They love Hubert Davis. He's very important to that institution, to that athletic department. And you ask Georgetown what it feels like when you've got to pull the trigger on Patrick Ewing. Ask Memphis fans what it feels like when you have to criticize Penny Hardaway. It's not fun to get to an awkward situation with a beloved alum. And so North Carolina has put Hubert in position to succeed. Now it's up to him and his staff to do it. But I will say, if this is one of the 5 or 6 or 7 most expensive rosters in college basketball, to me at least, it doesn't look like one of the 5, 6, or 7 best rosters in college basketball. Doesn't mean it can't turn into one of the 5, 6, 7 best teams. Well, as always, we'll see. But when you're just evaluating rosters on June 5th, 2025, I don't think if North Carolina's got one of the, let's just say, 10 most expensive rosters in the sport, I don't know that it's one of the 10 best rosters in the sport. Where would you go on that?
Yeah, so this is how I think it can really work against Hubert Davis, because now this number has been reported out there, and it is the kind of story that will make enough of an impact locally, but also beyond that. Our national podcast, we're talking about it here. The 14 million will stick, and we'll see between now and next season how many other schools have an approximate number attached to their roster situation. It wouldn't surprise me if we've got a couple more between now and then. But 14 million is a very specific number. And when UNC doesn't win or takes an unexpected loss or two, hey, this is a $14 million roster, and this is what you're doing with it. I actually think it can be used as a negative against Hubert Davis. And, I'm sure he and that staff didn't want the number out there, but also the number is the number, and that's how much they're spending. And before I just dial into the players on the roster and give our listeners a refresher on that, it is something of a shocking win that we're here. Just a real quick backstory and some context on this. Like, people hear about North Carolina spending a ton of money on players, and on a broad level, that's not a surprising thing. This is one of the most prideful, accomplished. You really can make the case. I'm not saying it's definitively there, but you can make the case that this is the best job in all of men's college basketball. And you look at the history of it, no program has more Final Fours and the longest Sweet 16 run and everything, the School of Jordan and all of that. But ironically enough, and I detailed some of this in reporting last season, Hubert Davis had grown frustrated with the lack of consistent financial support from a number of high-ranking, ultra-wealthy boosters around Chapel Hill. And a lot of their attention and money was going to the football program. And so in the past couple of years, while North Carolina had some NIL resources, it certainly didn't rank among the top 5, 10, or maybe not even in the top 15 of the sport. That just doesn't square. This is the University of North Carolina. You've got Duke right down the road, 7.9 miles as the crow flies, or so I've heard, or whatever the hell it is. And that's going to lead to frustration. Then you hire Bill Belichick and everything that's come with that. And I believe it's, when you take into account the football support for its players and NIL, and then the coaching salaries, I believe that's well north of 40 million. That is, if not 50 million, that's been allotted just for Carolina football. Never before has that university and its backers put this much into the football program. You can understand why when you consider Belichick and everything that comes with that, and Jordan Hudson stuff, all entirely to the side. The fact that UNC's men's basketball program has been able to, in, I don't know, GP, 7 months' time, effectively go from we're not getting nearly enough support in this arms race that is, the free-for-all in the NIL world, to having, even if the number is, I take Inside Carolina at its word here, but it's definitely above 10 and 11 million. So even at 12 or 13, that's still a huge win for them to even have gotten to this point. But it definitely is. It is you need to win, and we need huge dividends no matter what next season. It is making the tournament. It's not even maybe just wearing home whites. It's second weekend appearances. It's top 2, top 3 ACC finish, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seed kind of stuff. That's the bar that Hubert Davis will probably have to hit there. And it is intriguing. We're not going to relitigate his entire coaching career, but this does speak to Carolina and the expectations therein, because overall, Hubert Davis has one of the more interesting coaching journeys of the past 4 or 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, if you want to expand it out. He obviously hasn't been the head coach that long, but year 1, title game after some regular season skittishness, up and downs, bumps. Then, you win at Duke, you end Coach K's career, you ended at Cameron in the regular season, then you ended in the Final Four, and you make the title game as an 8 seed. Then you're the preseason number 1. You don't make the tournament. You become the first program ever to be preseason number 1, not even make the NCAA tournament. Last year, they were a 1 seed, made the Sweet 16, got bounced. Quality season overall, came up a little bit short, but a 1 seed in the 29-win season this past season. They squeak into the tournament, controversially so. Their athletic director is the chair of the selection committee. They're an 11 seed. They win 23 games. They're able to pick off San Diego State in the first 4, but then they get appropriately beaten by Ole Miss in the first round. And so now he goes into next season like genuinely on the hot seat. It hasn't been a disaster. It hasn't been an outright success, but Carolina fans aren't going to stand for this amount of turbulence on a year-by-year basis. Now, the roster, this is what a reported $14 million or in that ballpark will get you. Returning players, Seth Trimble, you know the name, 11.5 per game. Okay, solid player. James Brown, and it's not that James Brown. Unless you are a Carolina fan, you have no idea who James Brown is. But those are the guys back on the roster. Then you've got Henry Visar coming in from Arizona, who was one of the better big acquisitions in the entire portal process. Kyan Evans from Colorado State. Okay, we'll see what he can do. He averaged 10 and change on CSU and was option 3 at best there. Okay, Jaron Stevenson from Alabama. He could pop. He could be a player that matters. Averaged 5.4 points per game last season, GP. Jonathan Powell, role player at West Virginia. He joins the fold. Jaden Young, role player at Virginia Tech. He joins the fold. The freshman of note, Caleb Wilson, is unquestionably the stud. I think he's the best ranked incoming freshman in college basketball that hasn't been talked enough about for the amount of impact that he could have. And we'll get there as we move along throughout this offseason. But Caleb Wilson has a shot here to really be quite tremendous next season. So he comes in addition to a couple of their lower ranked players, nowhere near 5-star status, and Derek Dixon and Isaiah Dennis. They also recently acquired an international player. We'll see what his impact is overall, but that's for $14 million. And that is an underwhelming roster for the price attached to it. And so that's why I think this story ultimately, not a great thing for Hubert Davis. You'd rather have it kind of be vaguely out there in the ether. Now there's a specific number attached to it. And in addition to all the pressure that was going into next season, I think this just amps it up a little bit more.
Yeah, my initial point was Hubert is going to enter the season as the face of the hot seat list, right? When you build that thumbnail, he'll be on it. And so there was already inherent pressure. But sure, the 14 million number being out there so publicly does create a situation where if they struggle, it'll never stop at North Carolina struggling. It'll be North Carolina struggling. And can you believe they're struggling after spending $14 million on the roster? You'll see big headlines. It'll say $14 million failure. That number gets attached to you. It's happened in professional sports forever. Still does, obviously. Juan Soto can't go 0 for 4 and it just be Juan Soto went 0 for 4. It's Juan Soto went 0 for 4 and they gave him $765 million. It's the largest contract in professional sports history. When you get these big numbers attached to you in whatever world you're operating in, they become a part of your story. Ask Coleman Hawkins how many times the amount of money he reportedly got at Kansas State was brought up to him on social media over the past year, over and over and over again. So absolutely, that will be the life that Hubert Davis is living. At the end of the day, it'll just be a bottom line business. Did you do the job well enough to keep it or not? But there will be no excuses here. They gave him the money to have a top 10 team.
Yes.
And if the question is, can you believe they went from spending whatever they were spending just 2 years ago to this? The answer is yes, I can believe it because it works similarly to the way I talked about it working in the SEC. Everybody just points to the other guy and says, you got to give me what he's got. And, after a while.
Sometimes it doesn't, GP. Sometimes the coach that's struggling can't get that fund, and it's almost like you're setting him up to fail. And that's not what happened here. They were actually able to rally. Now, maybe it's because it's Carolina basketball and they care about that much. But sometimes, as you well know, it does not go this way. They just kind of leave you out to dry.
Yes. I have had coaches who have told me, I bet you've heard the same, who will tell you, I think my boosters are trying to get me out of here and they're making my job harder than it needs to be. What I need to, and that's been a thing forever, but it's especially true in the NIL era. People who are supposed to be helping me are hurting me. People who are supposed to be aiding me are making it more difficult. And yes, that's a thing. But at Carolina, I think you've got it right. It's just Carolina basketball. And when Duke is doing what it's doing in the NIL world, I think it's very easy for the people who care about Carolina basketball to say, we've got to do something. Let's find the money. But we can't keep watching them spin like this and put on the Cooper Flag show if we're not in the same ballpark. And so you get in the same ballpark. As for the roster, you broke it down. I have them 25th in the top 25 and one. Our good buddy Jeff Barzello also has them 25th. BartTorvik.com has them 27th. So it at least on paper doesn't project as a top 10 team right now. But as always, we'll see. It's June 5th.
Agreed. That in mind, we had other news here on this week and some good stuff to talk about. We talked Carolina, that's a blue blood. 2 other blue bloods have agreed to a home and home series, and that's a wonderful thing for college basketball. It will start next season. It's Kansas and UConn. We're going to get into that after the break, but first, Nada, how about a word from our partners?
Shanghai. You want, baby?
Big headline on Wednesday. UConn and Kansas, 2 of the best programs in the sport, run by 2 of the best coaches in the sport, have agreed to a home and home series starting next season. I dig it. How much do you dig it?
I dig it big time. UConn continues to stock up on its non-conference schedule. Kansas as well. I mean, these are going to be 2 of the 3, 4, 5 best non-conference slates overall. It's really cool to see that these coaches came together to make this happen. Bill Self has been unafraid for home and homes for basically the entirety of his Kansas career, which I've like to see. He's on a relatively short list of high major coaches that have embraced this. Obviously, his job security is as good as just about anyone. And you look at Dan Hurley, that's the case as well. Speaking of job security, real quick, we can talk schedules and stuff, but as we talk here this week, if you listen to the Tuesday top 25 stories, I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't gotten to it yet, please go seek that out. But we did do a quick diversion into the New York Knicks vacancy, and we do have an update on the Hurley end. So one thing I can report, I said on HQ Wednesday, and then we actually have words from Hurley. I was told Wednesday that the Knicks had not reached out to Hurley's camp, which is to say, his agent, his representation there. So it would not appear as though there was an indication that the Knicks are prioritizing going after Dan Hurley 1 year after the Lakers pegged him to be their next coach and he turned LA down. Obviously, the Knicks is a very different situation. But in addition to that, as coincidence would have it, Andrea Hurley, Dan's wife, was given an honor, an award locally on Wednesday. And I believe the AquaTurf in Connecticut, which residents of the state will know is a very popular prom destination. But there was a banquet, there was a get together, there was a small group of media that attended there, and the exact quote from Hurley when asked was, "Not another summer of that," end quote. So shy of entirely shutting down the New York Knicks stuff, the understanding here is that the Knicks aren't prioritizing Hurley, and Hurley is not looking to, bail on UConn in the first week of June and then go through another 2-3 week process of will he, won't he kind of stuff there. So if you're a UConn fan, you're thrilled. I wasn't expecting it to go this way. I guess you don't entirely close the door, but it doesn't seem like it's happening there. I guess we still wait for the Jerry Wright out and out denial there, but I'll just double down on what I said earlier in the week on the show. As for UConn and Kansas on the scheduling, I absolutely love it. I know I said something on the podcast that UConn fans went crazy on. Understandably so. This was last year. So UConn played at Kansas in 2023. This was the 23-24 season. UConn lost that game. It was only 3 losses. UConn took that season before it won a second straight national championship. And then, as it was told to me by multiple sources, that game was played because the Big East and Big 12 had a Fox deal. They had the Big East Big 12 Challenge. And then, you've got your 2 premium programs in each of the conferences. UConn went there 1 year. Then let's get Kansas to do the return for the next year. And that was the initial plan. And then that plan stopped being the plan and Kansas did not return. Well, whatever discussions that needed to take place for these coaches and these coaching staff to say, hey, let's just make this happen. Let's do it. I'm glad they did it. Now, UConn's got to take a second trip to Lawrence before Kansas will come up here to my Nutmeg State here in 2026. But it's terrific. It's tremendous. And we champion home and homes, true on-campus environments among, your top 25, top 30, top 40 level teams, GP. Well, we continually bang the drum, and it's a good thing to do so. But it's a step above when you've got, 7 or 8 true blue blood programs in college basketball, and Kansas and UConn are quite clearly that, and they are intentionally seeking each other out to play each other on their home turf. I think it's awesome. This game is going to be played December 2nd in Lawrence. I'll throw it back to you after I give you all this. I'm going to give you the non-conference schedules for these schools right here because it's awesome. UConn gets BYU, and these are the rankings that you have, by the way. So every single high major non-conference opponent UConn has scheduled right now is ranked in Parrish's top 25 and 1. I don't even know if you realize that, GP, or not, but they've got BYU, who's number 3. That's going to be in Boston for the Hall of Fame Classic. AJ DeBanza, who's from the area. They've got Florida, number 6. That'll be at MSG for the Jimmy V. They've got Arizona, number 11, at home. They've got Kansas, number 18, at KU. They've got Texas, which is your number 23 team. That's going to be in stores. And then they've got Illinois, the 24th team in your rankings, at the Garden, which is fascinating in this regard. The last time UConn and Illinois played, there was a 30-0 run. And the last time Illinois played at Illinois' 2 most embarrassing moments as a program happened either at the Garden or against UConn. And now they brought both those factors in for next season. Best of luck to Brad Underwood. For Kansas, at Carolina. See, I think Kansas is doing something that maybe only 4 or 5 teams will have next season at the high major level. They've got 2 road games against power conference opponents. At Carolina to start the season, then November 18th, they're against Duke at the Garden for Champions Classic. They're going to play in the Players Era tournament out in Vegas the week of Thanksgiving. Those opponents are to be determined. In fact, we'll get them within a week here. So we'll wait and see, but they're going to play at least 1, probably 2 really good opponents there. They've got UConn December 2nd. They've got Missouri in Kansas City, so that's a neutral this upcoming season, December 7th. And they're at NC State December 13th. So it's not just that these 2 are playing each other, Parrish. It's that they have willingly opted into this, already knowing that their non-conference schedules would have been sufficient without the games. They don't play scared. They don't schedule scared. Credit to Bill Self. Credit to Dan Hurley. Huge for college hoops to have 2 programs at this level agreeing to play each other, and not on a neutral, not in an NBA arena. These are going to be on-campus games the next 2 seasons.
Love it, obviously, for all the reasons you said and more. Appreciate Bill and Dan being willing to load up like this when we both know other coaches of prominent programs just refuse. And the truth is, this is the way to do it. You have 2 of the biggest brands in the sport. You are 2 of the best coaches in the sport. There is so much wiggle room in the regular season to still safely land you on the right side of the bubble if you happen to even be sniffing the bubble. This is not, a previous era of college football when you better be ranked number 1 or number 2 and possibly undefeated, or you can't play for the national title. We put 68 teams in a tournament, and UConn and Kansas should almost always, like literally almost always.
Kansas literally always.
Yeah, be one of those 68 teams. And so play each other, play everybody else. At the end of the day, you'll be in the bracket where you always land. I can watch and enjoy a game at the Pentagon. I can watch and enjoy a game at MGM Grand Garden. I can watch and enjoy a game pretty much anywhere, but they're always better like this. Like Dan Hurley walking into Allen Fieldhouse is a scene. I love that scene. Bill Self walking into Gamble is a scene. I like that scene. I like it when coaches, and John Shire is doing it this way as well at Duke. I like it when coaches recognize the type of property they are in charge of. And you can take this places where it matters, where people will remember it forever. I can just tell you here in Memphis, people still, I don't want to overstate it, be like every time you walk down the street, somebody brings it up. But like I can to my friends say, remember when Adam Morrison and Gonzaga came here that year? And they'll go, oh yeah, that was something. Like when the Zags come to a place, it matters. When Duke goes somewhere, it matters. When North Carolina goes somewhere, it matters. When Indiana goes somewhere, it matters. And when UConn and Kansas go places, it matters. And I like that they're going to go to each other's places. This is terrific.
You mentioned Gonzaga and Duke coincidentally back to back. Few has told me, I'm going to lobby this right now, John Shire got it done. There's only like when I went up to Gonzaga a few years ago, we got to talking about this, and Mark Few has only not had Duke. He's got Kentucky now. There was basically like you take a look at the 10 most successful programs in the history of men's college basketball, whatever. And I think he said it was Duke and maybe one other schools that he wanted to get up to Spokane. Like, let's get them up here, and maybe we can get that done before Mark Few decides to retire. That would be really, really cool. UConn and Kansas could wind up having the two toughest non-conference schedules. We'll see how it all, like, once we play the games and we see how good the teams are, then things change, obviously. But going in, here's the case for both of them real quick, and then we'll get to a really fun segment that I'm looking forward to. So UConn it has, in addition to its 20-game Big East schedule, and whatever comes with that, it's got 6 high major non-conference games, which you have checked the box, Dan Hurley. That you'll play 20 in the Big East, 6 high majors, and then the other 5 will be home bye games against mid majors, and that's completely understandable and no issue whatsoever there. But the fact that it is 6 and they are all preseason ranked teams by you, and honestly, like, highly likely to all be preseason ranked teams. I guess I think Illinois is a borderline lock to be preseason ranked. The only one that you have ranked that maybe you could see as unranked is maybe Texas under Sean Miller in year 1. We'll see. But with that said, UConn having 6 ranked teams has a strong case for it. But it does have Arizona at home, Texas at home, and then you've got 2 at Store South. What's interesting about Kansas is it's probably going to have at least 7, because again, at Carolina, at NC State, Missouri, Champions Classic, Duke, UConn, that's 5, and then Players Era will be 3 games, and 2 of those are going to be good. So that's probably going to be at least 7 legitimate. It could be 8. The Big 12 is no longer a 20-game schedule like the Big East. They're down to 18, so that's part of why Kansas could do this. But also can't, like, Bill Self, this is incredible. Like, you look at it, they only have 1 of their games against high major non-conference opponents. Only one, and it's the UConn game is at the Fog. Carolina and NC State are on the road. Duke is going to be at the Garden. Missouri is in nearby Kansas City. Not a home game. It's Mizzou in Kansas City. And then the Players Era stuff is all out in Las Vegas. So if you want to make the case for Kansas, it could have a higher, and it probably almost definitely will have a higher inventory of high major non-conference opponents, and only gets 1 game at home. So that's intriguing stuff. And it's all too appropriate that UConn and Kansas, by building this up, found a way to play each other. That's really, really cool. I hope every single other coach that is overseeing what could be objectively viewed as a top 20 to 25 level program sees what's happening here and actively goes and pursues and sees it. It just anecdotally, GP, in talking to these head coaches here and there, sprinkle a little bit of this and that, over the months, I find more of them are more willing now than what the tenor and environment was 7-8 years ago when we still got these games. It just isn't at the level, but just stick around on the podcast once we get to September and October. Like, the college basketball schedule and the non-conference in the first 6 weeks of the season is extremely good. Like, we had it last season as well. It is it's awesome to see that there are more coaches willing to buy into this concept and not be afraid from scheduling. And you need guys like Hurley and Self, in addition to your Izzos and Shires and all that too, and Tommy Lloyd and going down the list to set the model, and hopefully it becomes all the more contagious.
Yeah, give credit to Tom Izzo. He's been doing this for a long time. Was doing it before most. As for Bill, you get a lifetime contract and a Darren Peterson, man. Let's just go play anybody. I got a lifetime contract and a Darren Peterson. Let's play. All right. So I get it.
And not the preseason number 1, and not even close to it. So even that's like, it's like, oh, we don't have to deal with this again next season. Let's just, roll the balls out and see how it goes. Yeah.
I will say, and then we'll move on. Another aspect of, like, going into true road environments as opposed to neutral court stuff is, like, with all due respect to all the neutral court spots, I'm not trying to crap on anything or anybody, but, like, you walk in, they're usually half full, maybe not. Like, it's just not the same. You aren't even a player. I'm not a player. We have memories of walking into on-campus arenas. You know what it looked like and felt like the first time you walked into Cameron Indoor. You know what it felt like the first time you were in Allen Fieldhouse. I have memories of the Kennel, of Assembly Hall, of all of these places. And so I would just, like, if I were a coach, want to give that to my student athletes. I want my players. They're not all going to the NBA. For some of them, for most of them, this is going to be the biggest basketball experiences they ever have. And I would love to have them sitting around with their grandkids someday saying, yeah, oh yeah, we played at Allen Fieldhouse. Oh man, it was amazing. They started that chant. Woo boy, never seen anything like that. Yeah, we did play at Cameron Indoor this one time. We did go to the kennel. I, I think there's real value there. Sure, you might lose a true road game against an awesome basketball team. So what? You just gave somebody a memory forever that I think clearly overwhelms whatever memory they could get from playing that same game on a neutral court, outside of the neutral court, maybe being Madison Square Garden.
I agree. So well said. We can move on, but I do want to address someone that just mentioned something in the chat. Does UConn actually have William Lewis, who's got a UConn avatar? Does UConn actually have 5 bye games? I thought they could only play 11 non-conference games if they play an MTE, which they don't have scheduled yet. Remember, UConn played at Maui last year, and after they went 0-3, Dan Hurley came home, did a press conference, said, "We're never doing that.
Never.
I'm doing the MTE." This is a major benefit for college basketball over college football, which has its college football has most of its non-conference games scheduled out 3, 5, 7, sometimes literally 12 and 15 years in advance. For the most part, college basketball's programs, although they have like UConn and Kansas, okay, they've got a 2-year home and home. There is a game accounted for a year from now, but these schools have the ability to be nimble, to schedule in the non-conference on a year-by-year basis, which allows it to put itself in a much better position for more high-profile match. The fact that we get Florida and UConn at the Garden and then Jimmy V, and those are the 2 most recent national championship winners, and then we also get UConn Kansas, who is also responsible for the 4th most recent national championship, is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful stuff. This was a good unexpected bit of news break that we got midweek here in the start of June.
All right, one last thing we want to do. This is Norlander's idea, and we planned to do it last week while we were in the conference finals of the NBA playoffs. We pushed it off because we had other things pop up, but we still wanted to go through the exercise. Name 5 players in these NBA finals whose NBA careers have surprised us the most. In other words, we watched them in college, we covered them in college, we wrote about them, we talked about them, and
we didn't. That's the point. So,
yeah. Sometimes we
did not write and talk about Pascal Siakam. That did not happen.
I feel like I had a Pascal Siakam column in me somewhere.
Okay.
I feel like I had a Pascal Siakam.
Check that, please.
My name and Pascal Siakam's name have never appeared on the same
page on the internet. Not until
except for maybe a mock draft. Maybe a mock draft once upon a time. So we watched him in college. Maybe not. Maybe we didn't even watch him in college.
We did not watch Jalen Williams in college. On that note, as you set up the bit here, here's how I approach this, and then consider it is what we thought these players would be once they were done with, like, going into their respective NBA drafts. It wasn't like, hey, it's the middle of the Jalen Williams' junior year. It's not that. It's when they were approaching the draft or when they got drafted or not, how we thought that. That's how I approached my list.
And that is also how I approach my list. So let's get one more word from our partners, and then we'll go through the list.
2 scoring sensations square off. Tamwa Shawinga and the first place Current battle Esther Gonzalez and Gotham FC next Saturday on CBS.
Okay, we did not discuss this. Nope. Like every other list we talk about, there was no like every other list we've been talking about, there's literally no communication between us about it.
That's right.
And that's how you end up with Bob Knight not even being on.
Hey, take it easy, get you the list.
Okay, I got 5 players. I believe I got 3 OKC players and 2 Pacers, and my list starts.
Are we going 1? Are we going 1 to 5 or are we going 5 to 1?
Hey, I'll let you pick. I think let's start with the most surprising. Let's just start right at the top.
Let's start hold on. Okay, let's start. Go ahead. Start with your number 1. Who's your number 1?
It's Alex Caruso from the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's
not my number 1.
4-year player at Texas A&M.
Yes.
Never averaged more than 9.1 points per game. In the 4 seasons he played at A&M, he was the 6th leading scorer, the 3rd leading scorer, the 3rd leading scorer, and the 4th leading scorer. He obviously went undrafted. I went back and found Sam Vecini's big board from that year.
Yep.
He was 98th on Sam Vecini's big board heading into the draft, goes undrafted. He's now an 8-year NBA player, an incredibly important rotation piece for the best professional basketball team in the world. He's currently on a 4-year deal worth $81 million relative to where we thought Alex Caruso was as he left Texas A&M. Going from that to an $80 million contract to likely world champion, and you played an important role in it, that's awesome.
He's my number 2 player on the list. The fact that listen, undrafted, and he's only, he started going from that to he has started 138 out of nearly 470 games in his career. He only made the tournament one time, and it was his senior year. That A&M team was a 3 seed, Sweet 16 run. In doing this, by the way, I checked, Sports Reference, and at the NBA level, I known this, but I'd forgotten it because I'm not checking, Sports Reference Pro stats all that much. They have the nicknames listed. Here are all. Who the hell knew? Alex Caruso's nickname list. You ready for this? Bald Mamba.
Yeah.
Bald Eagle.
Sure.
Caruso, I had actually heard. I hadn't heard Bald Mamba or Bald Eagle. Caruso, I had heard. Goat is one of this dude's nicknames. AC, White Mamba 2.0.
Yes.
And the Accountant. This is, someone find me a better nickname list of any NBA player ever than that for Caruso.
Well, I mean, I've got on Apollo Creed right here. That's a pretty good nickname list.
Oh, there we go. Apollo Creed. I love it. White Mamba 2.0, I think, is my favorite. I don't know what the hell GOAT's doing on there. Who is referred to Alex Caruso as the GOAT? Like what?
Me. When I watched him lock up Jaren Jackson Jr. in Game 3 of the Western Conference playoffs, I was sitting inside FedEx Forum going, "This dude's a GOAT, I guess." I mean, I don't know how he's giving up 5 inches to Jaren Jackson Jr. and taking the ball from him every possession, but I guess he's a GOAT. I guess that's what GOATs do.
And they threw him on Jokic too, right? It's just amazing.
Yeah. He's awesome. He is the type of player you want on your basketball team.
Yes.
Period.
He is a 2-time all defensive player, considered like a top 5 defender in the league. 37.6% from 3. The only reason why I didn't put him number 1. Now he has been a huge surprise. 6.9 points, 2.9 rebounds, 2.8 assists. So the stats are pedestrian, but I had him number 2. I have SGA as my number 1, and here's why. In building out this list, I specifically remember so every year the draft happens on a Thursday, and so that Tuesday or Wednesday there was media availability for all the guys who get the green room invites. And I remember covering that year's draft. You want to go back in time? I'll give you some of the names that were selected that year. SGA's table, while it had the occasional media person out there, they were just, he was outside the top 10, wasn't projected to be a high pick, and he wasn't getting a ton of attention there. That was the draft with DeAndre Ayton. That was who went 1. Marvin Bagley went 2. Luka went 3. Jaren Jackson Jr. went 4. Trae Young went 5. Mo Bamba went 6. Keep on down the line. SGA winds up going 11 in that draft to the Clippers. The Hornets had the pick. They shipped it off. He played on a Kentucky team where he was not the best player. He was not. He was second overall in general statistics. Kevin Knox was the most productive. SGA was 2. PJ Washington, maybe 2A, 2B with those 2. Hamid Diallo, Quade Green, Wenyen Gabriel. That was, I think that was the youngest UK team ever, which says something considering how many of those teams were freshman dominated under John Calipari. They were a 5 seed. They went 26-11. They lost to K-State in the Sweet 16. SGA was a 5-star player, but ranked 20th in his class. I think he is the most surprising in this regard. Yeah, he was a lottery pick, but no one ever thought that this guy was going to be a first-team All-NBA player, let alone the MVP, let alone the face of a franchise that would make the NBA Finals, let alone the best player on one of the most statistically dominant teams that we've ever seen. And he's on that team that he's on now. Is not the team that picked him, obviously. For his career, he's averaging 24.4 points, 5.1 assists, 4.8 boards. He's a 3-time All-NBA player. He is about, if Oklahoma City wins the finals, he's going to join a rare list of someone who won the scoring title, won the MVP, and then they got to win 4, so we'll see if they can do it, and won the finals in the same year and finals MVP if he can do that. That list has like Shaq, Jordan, Magic Johnson. There's like 5 guys ever who have done that, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is 4 wins away and being himself from basically achieving that. So it was close to me, GP, but I have SGA as the most surprising NBA career of any guy in the finals, and Caruso number 2. Where's SGA on your list?
In number 2. So we're splitting hairs here. I've got it Caruso, SGA. You've got it SGA, Caruso. Not interested in an intense argument about it. But if I were if it was a competition, I would argue it this way. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was selected 11th in the draft. So there is, and I know that he's the MVP, but this is sort of a best player on best team MVP award, as opposed to
he led the league in scoring. Like, I know people don't think he's better than Jokic, and I don't either, but he led the league in scoring. So there's some of that, but he also in many ways deserved it.
I'm not even arguing that he doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying he got it mostly because he's the best player on the best team, and led the league in scoring and all that. But my point is, I have never heard anybody call Shai Gilgeous-Alexander the best player in the world. Nobody that I respect has ever called him that's the best player in the world. We have at times said that about LeBron. We have at times said that about Jokic, about Giannis. I don't think we've reached a point yet, and we might never reach that point where people say it about SGA. So, MVP, sure. But he really has just gone from the 11th pick in the draft to one of the best basketball players in the world. And I don't know how rare that is relative to this. A guy who was 98th on a big board, undrafted, never averaging double figures in 4 years of college, becoming an important rotation piece on the best team in the world. That seems more rare than the 11th pick in the draft becoming one of the best players in the world. But we don't have to argue it over. Let's go to number 3. On my list, I got Pascal Siakam. 27th pick in the 2016 draft out of New Mexico State. Those guys often don't even get a second contract. All right. He's now a 10-year pro, and he is the leading scorer for a team in the NBA Finals. Halliburton's the star, but Siakam is the leading scorer on a team that just won the Eastern Conference. And to go from the 27th pick to that is pretty surprising.
It is surprising. He's not on my list. He was the first cut. He was a monster in the WAC. By the way, nickname Spicy P.
Spicy P.
No idea.
I wish my nickname was Spicy P.
To be clear, this was I wanted to put him on the list. He is my 6th on the list. He was awesome. Now, I actually do remember watching Siakam, incredibly dominant, efficient, monster WAC player of the year at New Mexico State. Averaged 17 points, almost 10 boards, and since he was on the Raptors for most of his career, obviously was a big factor on the team that won the title in 2019. He's been a 3-time All-Star, All-NBA second team in 2020, All-Third team in 2022, but he is just short of mine. My 3rd is Jalen Williams, nicknamed J-Dub, by the way. Now, I did a whole big feature on Jalen Williams the year he got drafted because he was at Santa Clara, 3-year player there. And, a portion of his career in college was COVID affected. They didn't even live on campus for most of one of his seasons there. But he went 12th in the 2022 draft, and no player's stock rose higher in a shorter window of time than Jalen Williams, who, when he declared for the draft, wasn't sure he would get picked. And then a month later, hey, you're going to go top 15 almost definitely. He winds up going 12 to OKC. He was a first-team All-WCC player in 2021, 2022. Averaged 12.6 points, 3.7 rebounds, 2.9 assists while in college. He was the first Santa Clara player drafted since Steve Nash. But here's why I have him 3rd. He was an All-NBA 3rd-team guy this past season. He made the All-Star team this past season. He's averaging better than 18 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 4.3 assists for his NBA career. And while I as a function of me having to talk to him and his parents and his coaches, like I wrote about him because I thought, hey, he's going to step in and he's actually going to be a player that sticks around for a long time. He's got all the tools. He's super smart. He's aced his interview process. If he goes to the right franchise, like he is going to stick in the league. This is not a fake rise, and that has been proven to be correct. But even with that, he has moved into a place where he is comfortably one of the 20 best players in the NBA. And the fact of the matter is, when he declared for the NBA draft, almost nobody knew who the hell this guy was. You almost never saw him. He played for Santa Clara. They didn't make the tournament. A lot of their games got canceled because of COVID. They weren't a great team. So for me, surprise value where he is now versus what he was the week leading up to his being picked in 2022. I got Jalen Williams 3. I figure he has to be on your list. I will guess you have him at number 4.
He was my first cut. I cut him off.
Oh my gosh. How about that? So both our number 3 players were cuts on our list.
Everything you said is true. What I'm about to say is also true. He's a lottery pick who became like a top 3 player on a great team. That's not that unusual.
That's not that unusual, but it's all the context there makes it more surprising to me.
It's fine. It's fine. Like, again, we're nitpicking here, but
okay.
That's why I ultimately cut him, because okay, maybe we didn't talk about Jalen Williams while he was actually playing college basketball, but it became obvious as the draft was approaching. This guy's going in the lottery. He went in the lottery, and then he became a top 3 player on a really good team, a great team, an elite team. And like, that's not unusual. That's not too unusual, but whatever. So I went Caruso, SGA, Siakam. My number 4 is TJ McConnell, from the Pacers. Unselected in the 2015 NBA draft, wasn't in Sam Vecini's top 100. And I don't say this to how much I love Sam.
Crap on him. Well, Sam, we'll get to you if we had time, but we got to be out of here in like 6 minutes, so I don't know if we're gonna have time.
Yeah, and when we get you, the first thing we're gonna make you do is explain that 2015 big board. What was going on with that 2015 big board? I mean, my God. No, it was a disaster. Like, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that I found the 2015 big board. No, I just mean that's how off the everything McConnell was. And it wasn't because he wasn't a known college player. Like, he was a very good college player. It was just, he's a 6'1" guard. That alone sets the odds heavily against you.
You can also say the other part. He was a 6'1" white guard. So.
Yeah. I mean, he just doesn't, I don't want to get into all the stereotypes, but we're all thinking the same thing. So, to go from not even being in the top 100 to being a 10-year NBA veteran and somebody that can impact games and can change games, high-level games, like to go from there to there, that's wildly unusual.
McConnell's number 5 on my list. Nicknames: Floor General.
Yeah, of course, he's a floor general.
McClutchel.
He's a coach on the floor. I guarantee you that.
He's a coach on the floor. And thank God Jim Rat wasn't put here. Floor General McClutchel, which is, do these get put because like 3 people tweeted about him once? Who calls this dude McClutchel? And then Rocco. Okay. 7.6 points, 5.0 assists for his NBA career. And yeah, like, he is stuck in the league for 10 years. And by the way, been on playoff teams in 5 of his 10 seasons there. He finished at Arizona. He started his career at Duquesne, man. Was an All-American honorable mention in 2014-15, his senior year, a 2-time All-Pac-12 defensive player, starting point guard on back-to-back Elite 8 teams at Arizona under Sean Miller. Those teams were 1 and 2 seeds, by the way. They lost to Wisconsin in both of those years. So yes, as a college player, he was well known, regarded as, one of the 20 to 25 best players in college over the final year or 2 of his career. But this guy went undrafted and has stuck and been an important role player. He was number 5 on my list, number 4 on your list. Barring any kind of stunner, we must have the same play. Number 4 on my list is Tyrese Halliburton. Is he number 5 on yours?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, he's a lottery pick who turned into a great player.
You got way too broad and basic on this. Okay, I'll go with mine, and then you go with yours. Okay. I have Tyrese Halliburton, who, by the way, I have a feature up on him right now. Nada, we can go ahead and link in the description if you could be so kind to do that after the fact. How he went from being a guy who weighed, and I know we're GP, we got like 4 minutes, we got to get out of here. Tyrese Halliburton got to AIM 7 years ago. Didn't weigh 150 pounds. Was genuinely worried that he was going to be redshirted his first season, and was like, please just let me have a chance. Let me try. First game, Lindell Wigginton gets hurt, minutes in, foot injury. Halliburton winds up playing way more in that first game than ever would have thought. Steve Prohm decides to start him in the second game against Missouri. He plays all 40 minutes. He he starts from there on after until he suffers a foot injury. He gets taken 12th by the Kings in the 2020 COVID draft. He's been a two-time All-NBA player, averaging 17.5 points, 8.8 assists. He's now Tyrese Halliburton has a legitimate case as one of the 10 best. I don't care that he went in the lottery, GP. He has a case as one of the 10 best players in the NBA and has brought the Pacers to the finals for the second time in their history. I'm sorry. That is one of the 5 most surprising developments of any player on any roster for either of these teams in the finals. I have Hallie 4, but go ahead. Who do you have on your list?
My number 5 is Aaron Wiggins with the Thunder. 55th pick, 2021 NBA draft. He finished the regular season as the 4th leading scorer on the best team in the world. 55th pick of the draft.
It's fair. It's valid. I considered him. Yes.
To the 4th leading scorer on the team favored to win.
I thought you were going to say Nesmith, but yeah.
I mean, I had Nesmith pretty high in mock drafts. I went back and looked a few weeks ago. Like I'm not surprised he's become a relevant NBA player. McConnell, just to circle back, is quite literally the reason when I get asked, so do you think so-and-so could maybe play in the NBA someday? Almost without exception, I say, yeah, who knows? Yeah. Maybe.
Him and Caruso.
I'll say things like, I'd be surprised, but maybe. I never say no, or your favorite phrase, no chance. I never say no chance.
I think it was 0 chance. Let's accurately aggregate and report 0 chance. Continue.
I never say 0 chance or no chance, and TJ McConnell is the reason. But Wiggins, again, played 3 years at Maryland, averaged 11 points and shot 36% from 3 in his career. He is in year 4 with Oklahoma City this season, averaged 12 points and shot 38.3% from 3 on 4.5 attempts per game. He's a top 4 scorer on the best team in the world after being picked 55th. That's pretty surprising.
It's all right. We got to get out of here. That's not like Tyrese Halliburton averaged 10 points, 4.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists on an Iowa State team that didn't make the tournament. Like Wiggins is not more shocking than Tyrese Halliburton being a top 10 NBA player.
You literally set this up.
Hallie on the list.
You literally set this up by saying, how surprised are we where these people are relative to where we thought they were a week out of the draft? So I don't care. A week out of the draft, you know what we knew? Tyrese Halliburton was going to be a lottery pick. I don't care how much he weighed or what he did or did not do at Iowa State. A week away from that draft, we knew he's going to be a lottery pick, and he has gone from a lottery pick to a great player. There's a million of those.
Well, I'm glad we did this. This is also, as we wrap, GP's got to get the hell out of here. Keep in mind that in these finals, you have a litany of players. Like the projected starting rosters, I think Chet and Halliburton and Shea are the only, right? Are they the only ones that were lottery picks? There might be one other one. There's so many guys that were not top 10, top 15 picks on these teams. Really, really cool lesson to be learned there, and how much value can be found elsewhere. And all by the way, as we head toward the draft in 3 weeks here, all the more of how much this can just, and sometimes it's a dart throwing exercise. So really, really cool stuff, and eager for the finals tonight.
It's 2 really well-built basketball teams. I know that it's small markets and television ratings might not be what they otherwise would be if you had the Knicks and the Lakers and whatever. Outside of Oklahoma City, just running away from them the way they are clearly capable of, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Game 1 on Thursday night, and if you want a prediction, Thunder in 5.
No, that's you got. We have to go. You have a show. Thunder in 5 is the one prediction I will not allow because everyone's saying Thunder in 5. I'm going to say.
I said it first. I said Thunder in 5.
Thunder in 5 is the cop out. You can't say Thunder in 5. Any other result?
I said Thunder in 5 first.
Say it with your chest. Thunder in 4.
Thunder in 4. Thunder in 3. Give me the Thunder are going to win. The Thunder are going to win the first 3 so badly that the Pacers will forfeit game 4. And then the Larry O'Brien Trophy goes to downtown OKC. Shouts to Devin Dowdy. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Terry Teagle, he's a legend. Huck Larnell, thank you guys once again for watching, listening to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. Do not subscribe. Please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify. More of us than there are of them. That should be reflected in the comments. So do that. We'll talk to you again real soon. Till then,